Hello, anybody out there? Couple of minutes early. My super exciting desktop wallpaper. Yeah. Oh, cat's getting in the way. If anyone is here, I'm gonna wait a few minutes just to make sure people are here before I get started. Oh, hello. Hello, Sean. I see you there. How you doing tonight? It's first hour or so is probably gonna be more like a webinar where I sort of go over what the project is, why we're doing it, how the parse logs work, and what the code I've done so far looks like. Don't mind my cat in the background. Captain Ginger is just defeating the Borg. Then after that, I'm probably going to take questions, and obviously people can ask questions whenever. Um, and then I'm probably just going to spend the rest of the stream working on it, so I can get it uploaded to GitHub. And I'll show you guys, if you don't already know, about the Stove Builds Discord run by Spencer, and there's the whole section for the parser in there, and you can get links in there to the GitHub. So this is not a fun stream with gameplay or anything. It's a boring Python Excel spreadsheet kind of a stream. So yeah, I realize that you've been subscribing in mass at the sound of that, but wait just a couple more minutes. Give give it. We just hit 9 o'clock Eastern time, so I want to give people a few more minutes to get in here. Now's a good time to go to the bathroom or grab a drink or a snack or something. Looks like we got yeah. All right, we had 5 people, dropped a couple. That's all right. I guess I'll go ahead and start talking. Um, a little bit. So, for people who don't know, and I don't know who's here or what level of experience you have with these tools, these third-party tools that were not made by Cryptic. Um, you see them a lot in YouTube videos. There's a couple of major parsers. There's Stow Combat Meter and there's Combat Log Reader. And the one that I use and the one that connects to the the table that's run by Spencer is Stow Combat Meter. Both of those were developed by players, and they've been really useful. But the guy who does Stow Combat Meter, I think if we open it up here, we can go to About. I can't remember if it's in here or not. About here. I don't remember if the guy put his name in here or not. It just says brought to you by the official DPS channels. I couldn't remember if his name was in here, but yeah, this tool was just made by regular players. It wasn't made by audio's low. Okay, let me see if I can fix that. How's that? Is that better? Audio better now? How's the audio now? Is that better? Well, if it's still too low, just let me know and I'll turn it up some more. Or if it's too loud, I'll turn it back down. So these tools are just made by regular players, and the way they work is that when you play the game, you can put in a command that says generate a combat log, and then you put in another command that says turn the combat log off, and then you get something that looks like this. And it's just a text file, and it's seemingly a giant mess, and we've had some issues going through and figuring out how to parse it, which is why it's called a parser. Yeah, the delay is noticeable. I couldn't figure out any way to get rid of it. So, if you're just starting from nothing, you take a look at this file that it makes, and it's like, well, what do I do with all this? So thankfully, we have some people who had already done some work in figuring out how to interpret all this, and we are kind of starting from scratch. We know some things about how Stow Combat Meter works because we have access to it. So we don't have access to the code, but we could just see what it outputs. So it can give us some information about how it works just from a black box perspective. But even that was just made by an outsider. So we're not getting any help. There's no official help with this. It's just something we're doing on our own. I know I've been saying that repeatedly, but just to let people know, like, uh, you know, any complaints people have about it or anything, this is all just being done voluntarily by people on their own time, not getting paid. There's no official support from the company or anything. It's just a fan projects. So what can you get out of all this mess here? Well, you can derive a lot of statistics. Um, Damage, combat time, damage per second, healing, crit rate, percentages about healing, percentages about uh, itemized percentages. He can go down to open this player combat analysis report, and you can see it's all itemized by different abilities and by your pets and everything, and what was the maximum hit that you got and the minimum hit that you got, and which of your attacks killed the enemies and all that sort of stuff. So there's all sorts of information in here, but you have to do the work to get it out. So since we don't have access to this source code, and the person or people who made it aren't developing it anymore, and it's sort of hard coded how it communicates with the server, don't really have any way of changing that. So there's a couple of big motivations for why this project exists. One is so that we can make changes to the server side stuff, but that would require changes on the client side for how to communicate with it. And another reason, I suppose there's three reasons. Another reason is better features. For example, if we go back to this combat analysis report, and all of the parse I'm going to show tonight is just Spencer's Malachowski parse, his 2 point whatever million one. You can see here, sorry, cat keeps getting in the way. You can see here, if I scroll down a little bit, I should be able to, maybe it's not on this one, but you should be able to find, oh, I have the wrong player selected. Okay, let's find isolytic tear. Here we can see we have isolytic tear is shown as its own item, but then when we go and we look at the breakdown for pets, we have isolytic tear again. So it's being grouped up twice, and that's the kind of thing that just, a tweak would make that better. So you don't have, because if you come in here, you might think, oh well, isolytic tear did 13 million, but that's not true, because then you have to come back out here and add up the one out here as well, which is not a lot. It's only another 1.5, but the point is it's not in all condensed into one place. Little things like that. So quality of life improvements. And some of the server side stuff is like it only knows how to recognize a few different maps. It sometimes incorrectly figures out what career you are or what faction you are. So it'll say that people are tactical when they're science or engineers or whatever. So there's stuff like that. And then another thing is just, well, if we don't if the person who was working on this isn't working on it anymore, and anything happens to it so that it doesn't work, then that's it. We just don't have a parser anymore. So, assuming that we're still going to be doing this for another few years, at least, then we need to have a parser that has the ability to be maintained. There's no way to maintain this one if anything happens to it. So those are the major motivations for what this is. Isn't it just text to CSV file conversion? So yeah, you can open it. Is a CSV. Whether you label it as a CSV or not, it is a CSV file. So it is comma separated. But the thing is, like, it's so just to use one example, when it comes to hits, what counts as a hit? Well, when you have a hit, each line is either counted as a damage to your shields or damage to your hull. But you could have secondary shields, and so it might be that 3 different lines in the file correspond to the same attack. So it's and also, like, you can't just say, well, this person had an attack and it did so much damage, we're going to count that. Do you want to count friendly fire? So now you have to sort out who is friendly and who's enemies. And once you start going down the rabbit hole on that stuff, then it becomes more complicated. So it is a CSV file, but that doesn't necessarily help too much. So Excel is a great tool for looking at some of this stuff. So if you're planning on, and if you want to, you have a combat log on your own computer, you just go into the files on your computer. I go to C drive, program files. I come down here, I'll find Star Trek Online, and then I'll go to logs. And that's not what I want. You need to find, you do Star Trek Online again, then you need to pick either playtest or live. Playtest is for the triple test server. So click on live, then you can click on logs, and then game client, and then there's a bunch of stuff in here, but the one you want is the one that's called combat log. So you can find combat logs that you've made if you make combat logs on your computer and open it up. And you can open that up in Excel, and Excel is a pretty good tool for just doing some basic data exploration. So here I have one already pretty much loaded up, and I can open it as a CSV. So I'll put delimited. Then I'm going to need to tell it I want it to be comma delimited. It might have done that automatically if it had been a .csv file, but since it's not, I have to tell it. So if we do it that way, then it will load it up in here, and we'll get it all comma separated, and then you can start filtering and doing stuff like that. So then I can put on filters. We'll go ahead and get this. What I look for here. What do I want here? I want to make it so that they're all auto width. There we go. So then I can come down here and say, well, I just want, there's a lot of entities here. Let's see. I just want me. I'm just going to pick this as now it's going to filter out just me, just the attacks that were made by me or the healing that was done by me or whatever. And then I can come over here and, sum up this column or whatever and do data exploration that way. So Excel is a good tool. It's a very good tool. I've used it quite a bit for data exploration with these files. So that's a good tool to use. So then what do you do after that? Well, I've got this file here called yap for yet another parser, and then I got another file called oscar.py. So oscar.py is like, using all of the functions and everything that are defined over in yap. And the first thing you have to do is, or the first thing that I did was to open the file as a CSV and put it into a pandas database, basically. Now there's some optimization issues here that haven't been fully resolved, which is to say that I haven't fully resolved them yet. So, I've got the system set up in such a way that if I come over here to core, there's another file, I have this instance class that is supposed to represent the instances in a file, because a combat file can have more than one combat instance in it. And they can get very long. So if I look at here, it only has one. Over here, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor or not. Under combat list, it only has one, infected, S for space. But you could have a whole big long list there. So if you go into the game and you just keep making more logs and making more logs, it's not going to put them into individual files. It's going to put them all into the same file until you move it or rename it or whatever. So you also have to be able to detect the different instances in the file and sort those out. So that's one of the first things to do. So this class here, this instance class, is basically just saying, it just has two members. It has start and end to just say this line in the file is the start of an instance and this line is the last line of the instance, so that you can look at different instances in the same combat file. And then I have another one for player, which is a more recent development that has not been fully implemented yet. It has lots of members, and the idea behind this, hello Parker, nice to see you, thanks for coming, that has all of these different members in it for all these different statistics. And the idea behind this is that you don't want to calculate anything more than once. So if you just do it sort of in a functional manner where you're calling the function and getting the result back, I'm not doing the user interface part of the program. So you don't want to have the overhead of having to do the calculations every time someone calls the function, or every time you need the data. It shouldn't recalculate it. So it should only ever calculate it the first time you ask for it. And then after that, it will store it in this player object. And then if you need it again, it's just been saved somewhere so that it doesn't have to be recalculated. Those are the two classes that I have here. So first thing to do, read it in. And then I have given names. Some of these names, this is open to change, open to suggestion here. Especially this one here, player ID. That corresponds in the combat log. If we look up, if we just come back up here to the top here, so you can actually, maybe it'll be a little bit clearer in the Excel. Okay, so let's come back to the Excel where I have it opened up here. So this has already been separated here. So the first one is what I've called the timestamp, and it basically just has a timestamp, right? Now this has not been sorted properly. Excel didn't sort this out with the double colon here, but where you see Andrew, that's my character name in the game, my main character, that should be its own column, but it's not comma separated in the file, so that's an extra layer of separation anyway. The important thing is, so there's the timestamp, then there's the what I have is the player name. But if you scroll down here, I have it filtered, you can see that there are a bunch of other ones as well. This is because I have it filtered up here to be just me. But you can see Borg Battleship, um, mission space turret disruptor cannon, all this kind of stuff, Alachi battleship, whatever, blah blah blah. And so these aren't necessarily players. It's more like an entity ID. It could be a non-player. It could be an entity. So that's probably one that's due for a change at some point. But it's all embedded in the code at this point. So it's gonna have to be um, a bigger like copy and paste type change later. Pet name, maybe isn't necessarily right either, but the pet name, the next column in the file is like you could think of it as just like something that's being associated with the entity. Usually it's a pet. Like this is the main way to sort out what's a pet and what's not. So if you're filtering in Stow Combat Meter and you're on the player analysis combat report and you have player pet details, when you're selecting pet, that's kind of the way to say, well, how do I know what a pet is? What promo ship should I get at the end of the year? That's a good question. Assuming you do the event campaign and you get the choice box, there's some pretty good ones were released last year, and those will all be available that weren't available in last year's prize. So the Dale Kalina is very good. Trying to think. I don't remember if the Mirror Constitution was last year or not. That's a good one. Ultimately, you should just get whatever ship you want to fly, though, or whichever one you like to look at. All ships are good if you build them right. So, if you're the kind of person who's trying to min-max, then you probably already know what you're missing. If you're not the kind of player who's trying to min-max, then I would say don't worry about all that stuff and just pick which one you like the looks of the best, or which one you think you'll have the most fun flying, and then just go with that. So there's issues with deciding what's a pet and what's not a pet. The main way is through that third column there. And then there's IDs. So if we come back here to the Excel, you find one here. You can see here it says C, and then it has in like brackets here or braces or brackets as 18 mission space turret photon torpedo blah blah. If we scroll down some more though, actually let me just look at the filter to see some different options. So if we look at the filtering, see if we can find any P's. Here's a P down here. So if it has a C out in the front, that's not a player. It's some other kind of entity. If it has a P, then it's a player, an actual player, like your character in their ship or other human player in their ship. Not a pet, but an actual player. So like Tractor Beam, Alachi, Spaceborg Cruiser, those all have a C on them because they're non-player character entities. Come back over here to the code. So you got like the player, the header, the player ID. The header has to get sorted out though. So because like I was showing before, a CSV, if you parse it by the commas, it's not gonna separate the timestamp from the player name because it's separated by colons, not by a comma. It's a weird choice on their part. I don't know why they decided to format it that way, but they did, so that's what it is. So down here, these lines here are basically just to parse that out and to split it into timestamp. Actually, I did sort it out, it looks like. I have it sorted out into timestamp and source. So header gets turned into timestamp and source. So a source could be a player, or it could be an enemy, or some other kind of entity. So then you got the timestamp, you have the source, you have the player ID, which should probably be entity ID, but that needs to get changed later. The pet name, pet ID, target name, target ID, and the thing, the why, why have an ID and a name? Well, if there's two characters that are both named Martha, like let's say Batman's dad and Superman's dad, you're going to need some way to tell them apart. So the ID is unique. So it's not just because otherwise, if you just went based on the name, you could have two characters that have the same name. So, um, and in a lot of places, I made the mistake already in this code of using the name and not the ID. And so I haven't tested this on a parse where two characters were the same name, and maybe it's a corner case that isn't going to come up that often, but it is something that should be changed. So that's one thing on the bucket list to get changed here. Switching all that code over so that it looks at the IDs instead of just the names. Then you've kind of got what I've labeled the activity source and the activity ID, and that's sort of like you know you could think of it as like ability names or weapon names. So it could be like quad disruptor cannon, or it could be like tractor beam or whatever. It's not the player or entity that's doing the thing. Instead, it's the thing that you're doing. If that makes any sense. And then of course that has its own ID. And then you have the type, and there's a whole list of types. It could be like phaser or kinetic or whatever. So it's something like that. Then you have flags. Flags are things like if it was a critical hit, did it kill the enemy? And you can have multiple flags. So let's go back to the Excel here, and let's find the flags here. So here's the flags. Since we have the filter, you can see here we've got critical, and then they use a I can't remember the name of this character. It's the vertical bar to separate them. So you got critical. It was a critical and a flank, and it killed the enemy. It was a critical, a flank, and it broke their shields, and so on. So you can have more than one flag on the same sort of activity that happened on that line. Um, so that's what those are. So you've got, and then the types here we can see some of the different types that are in this parse. So you've got anti-proton, cold, electrical, fire, hit points. So healing shows up on here as well. A weird thing about how the parses are formatted is that healing, any kind of healing, is registered as a negative number instead of a positive number. Does help us sort it out, but that's the kind of thing where if you're just looking at it for the first time, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. So people have to get that figured out. And then I just have these as mag 1 and mag 2, which is to say magnitude 1 and magnitude 2. And there is usually a relationship between these. It could be like damage before resistance and after resistance, or whatever, damage to shields, damage to hull. There's different relationships between those. And then I have mag 2 as it's, and I've pulled this out. So far I've been parsing this using pandas. Pandas is, if you don't know what pandas is, but you do know about Python, pandas is sort of like it's sort of like working with a database. You could think of it like working with turning your data into a sort of mini database. But Panda operations can be a bit slow, and since the magnitude 2 is like the main one that you care about for doing a lot of these statistics, it's just faster to have it as a list. So for that one specifically, it's just a little bit of optimization that I've done. It's in no way, definitive, but it has sped things up quite a bit to peel that one out and just put it into a list. Then we've got this this function this function should be deleted. Oh, I'm not going to delete it right now. Actually, I think it's still using it. It may get incorporated. Okay, so now that I've sort of talked about how the parse is, right? So you've got all these different columns in here that give you a timestamp to tell you who's doing the thing. You know, is there an association involved, like a pet? Who are you doing it to? Did you use protection? Um, what what the thing is you did, what type it was, what flags there are, and then the numbers behind it. So now that we have this into this sort of pandas database, data frames, what they call them, it's called data frames. Now what? So the thing that the sort of a core data structure that I came up with for this is I've called it a slice. So it's a slice of the parse, and so this is sort of I would say the most important function is the get slice function. It has overhead. So one of the optimizations that I've been doing is if a function needs a slice in order to work, but it's not going to modify it in any way, then I'll just try to pass around one that already exists rather than having every function you call this one to get a new slice, because it does have a performance hit to it. So you want to create as few slices as you need and pass around ones that can be used for multiple things. Um, if you know about Python, then you'll know that pass by reference and pass by value is a bit weird. It sort of automatically does it for you, so you can't really specify specifically very easily. There are sort of ways around it, but it's not like you can just say in the function declaration, oh, I want this to be passed by value, or I want this to be passed by reference. So it tends to be like, well, if it's a constant, or if it's we're going to do pass by value, and if it's an object, we're going to do pass by reference. So it kind of just does it for you. And these slices are objects, so they are passed by reference, which means if you're doing something to it, it's going to get changed. So it's something you have to be careful about. Just having some sip of martini there. Okay. All right. So what does this slice function do exactly? Um, it has three parameters. Instance, which we already talked about if you weren't here before. It's one of the core classes I've defined that just says where a combat instance starts and ends in the combat log. So that's an object that has those two numbers in it. So you need that, so you know what part of the combat log you're looking at. Then you need player, which is to say, now these are all defaulted to none. So you could input any or all or none of them, and it will filter appropriately. You can specify a player to say, I only want those lines in the combat log that are associated with this player. When I say associated, I mean that they are the source. So when we come back up here to the top, they have to be the source in that line. If they are the source, then it would get included, and if not, not. Then flag. And so there are some flags. It's not the same as the flag that I showed above, like crit or kill or any of those. It's other flags that I've specified. And then up here, it's like it's like the same version of the function, but it's called a pet slice. So if you just want a player's pets, so it's a way of adding that extra layer to say and this needs to be updated. The pet one needs to be updated, but it's the same idea, but just you're narrowing it down to the player's pets instead. So first you say, is there an instance? If there's not an instance, then you just return it, because basically what you're saying is, I want everything, so there's no more work to do. If there's an instance, if the instance dot end is equal to -1, then you get the parse location is at instance dot start all the way until the end, because what you're saying is this is the -1 in Python. -1 is how you index the last thing. So if you have a list and you want to index the last item in the list, you index at -1. So what we're saying is if this is the last parse or the last instance in the parse, then it's going to go from the start all the way through the rest of it. Otherwise, it has to go from the start to the end. So that's what this little if statement here is about. Just trying to decide. And if there's only one instance in the combat log, then of course you can index it with -1. So if a list or whatever only has one object, you can index it with -1, and you'll get it. It'll be the same as indexing it with 0. Then if there's a player specified, then you will use this indexing to just index to say that the source has to be equal to the player. And then the two flags that I came up with are healing and damage. So you can say, I only want those lines that were healing lines, or I only want the lines that were damage lines. If you don't supply a flag, then it will just give you everything. And so, overall, it's not a very complicated function, but it's just really important for, being able to narrow down the entire combat log to just the lines, the specific filtering out only to the lines that you actually care about doing something with. I agree, Starlay. This is a very action-packed and exciting. It's so exciting, I'm going to have some more martini. I mean, I haven't done anything this exciting in hours, for sure. All right, let's change gears for a little bit and go back to my mock sort of OSCR.py program. So how do you do anything here? Let's say that you have the code and you want to actually use it. So down here I have specified a file path specifically to Spencer's Malachowski run, just for testing purposes. But you would need to find some way of getting a file path to the combat log that you need, whether you prompt the user in the UI somehow, or whether it's passed in through the command line parameter or whatever. So you need to have a file path to the log that you want to look at. Here I have the option to just get it from the command line, so you could just put it in as an argument. And then what you need to do is you're calling this read parse. So it's down here, yap.readParse, and that is the function that we already looked at. That this one up here that puts it into the pandas data frame. So then once we have it in the pandas data frame, so we call the main function up here, and I'm calling yap.getCombatInstances. So what's getCombatInstances? That's the next function that's defined here, and this one doesn't use slices because it's still at a more early stage of processing. So time differences is equal to, and we come back up here, date times. What is date times? So date times is basically just the timestamps. That's it. It's just that if we come back here, it's just these timestamps put into a list and formatted. That's it. So we'll come back here, and the time differences are date times at I+1 minus date times at I dot seconds, because we want it in seconds, for I in the range of the parse. Then we find the start times, which is time difference index I+1 for I in time diff if I is greater than or equal to the time between combat. What is that? So now we have to go to the settings file. It's not really a proper settings file in the way that settings files usually are. It's just another Python file. So at some point, it needs to be converted into more of a proper configuration file type situation. But we have some settings here for the parser. So time between combat. Why do we need this? We need it because we need to know how much time between the timestamps should we consider to be a new instance, because it's not in the file anywhere. The combat log doesn't have any place in there where it says this is an instance. Oh, now we're on a new instance. You kind of just have to figure that out by looking at the time differences. So the way I have it set up right now is 45 for 45 seconds. So the way you could interpret that is to say, if two consecutive lines in the combat log have a difference of at least 45 seconds, or at least 45 seconds apart, then we're going to consider that to be the start of a new combat instance in the file. So the start times use this time between combat setting. And then the end times are calculated in a way that a common sense way, using the start times. And then this whole thing is just returned as a list. So over here in oscar.py, we have instance is equal to yap.get combat instances. And then I'm just indexing the last one at -1, because I know that the one I put in here for testing only has one instance in it. So indexing -1 is going to give me the only one in there. But you could drop that off here, and then you could get the length of it and index, whatever one you want. So that's going to give you those instance objects which have the start and end points on them. And you don't use that directly. You don't use the start and end members of those objects directly. Instead, hello, Ryan. Nice, I see you there in the chat. Thank you for stopping by. You don't use the instance object or its members directly. The only way that you use it is as a parameter for other functions. So you're just passing it into other functions. That's it. It's just something that gets passed around so that the other functions know what they're doing, or what part of the parse they're looking at. Then player list is a similar idea. So we got get player list. So go, using the wrong keyboard. Get player list. Let's find the function. Here it is down here. Will OSCR be user-friendly in terms of displaying information to the level of Stowe Nexus parser? Hello, Ryan Storm, who's different than Ryan Howe or Hugh or Howe. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Howe, I think. I don't know exactly. Starlay, I assume that it will be. I think we're hoping that it will be, but I'm not really going to be directly involved with the user interface part of it very much. So I think that the goal is to make it very user friendly, at least as user friendly as Stowe Combat Meter. I don't have a lot of experience with the Nexus parser, if I'm being honest with you. I know it's like another popular one, probably not as popular as the other big two, but I would think that the goal is to make it as user-friendly as possible. And because they're open source projects and they're in open development, if you have feedback, if you find that the user interface is not good, then you could just, go in. You can get into the Discord yourself and make suggestions and leave feedback and say, I don't like this, or I think it would be better that way, or can you please add this feature or whatever, and then maybe people will be able to do it. So yeah, I think I can't promise anything though. So getting back to the get player list function here. Hello, and how are you doing today? Hello, 2Fox. I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the stream. We're just talking about the current development of the new open source combat reader, or the new parser. This get player list function is a pretty... Oh, hello, here's Augie. Damn, I would have sent people over here if I'd known you were streaming. YouTube fail. Yeah. Well, this is only my second stream ever, so I suppose it's understandable that people wouldn't know I was streaming. I may get on some kind of a streaming schedule at some point, but I'm still new to the streaming game, so. and you got to start strong, right? If you're new to streaming, you got to make a good first impression. That's why I have Python code on the screen. If I did something boring like action-packed gameplay, no one would want to watch, right? People want pedantic programming references. That's what they care about. So, because, and you can see this is the first time so far where we really get to take advantage of all this infrastructure that we're building and make this function simple, because it takes an instance as an argument. And the benefit of that is that it doesn't have to do a whole bunch of extra stuff, because now we have this information about where the start and end of the combat instance is in the combat meter, or in the combat log, I should say. Warp Core, that was a perfect opportunity to tell Augie to subscribe and turn on notifications so he always knows when you're streaming. That's a good point, Warp Core. I'm pretty sure he is subscribed, so I don't think that's an issue. But maybe he did forget to hit that bell. I don't know. What does every YouTuber say? Ring that bell. Ring that bell so you can get. And they always lament that you'll never get notifications if you don't ring the bell. Yeah, it's live, so you have to be extra careful not to piss off the YouTube gods. That's true. That's very true. Although that would kind of suggest that any of them are watching or paying attention. But for everyone else, feel free to like, subscribe, ring-a-ding-ling that bell, hit the super chat, all that stuff. All that YouTube stuff that I'm supposed to say. Anyway, so now we're taking advantage of the instance object that is being passed in as an argument, and we're being able to take advantage of the get slice function that we already developed. Yeah, smash the like button. That's right, smash it. You got to hit it with a protomatter laced torpedo. That's what you have to do. Get a Zenkethi protomatter torpedo and obliterate all living all living organisms on the like button. Yeah, the mods are not bots. I don't I mean, it probably has some kind of automated bot function. There's only one moderator right now, and that's Spencer, and that's just because I caught him in the chat earlier and I was able to turn him into a mod. But thankfully everyone's well behaved, so it hasn't really been an issue. And there's only 9 people watching, so it's not it's not like there's tons of issues here. So now we're able to take advantage of that instance object. We're able to take advantage of the get slice function that we had earlier. So it's a 2-liner, and that's really nice. So this function's only 2 lines long. So get player list, it takes an instance object as an argument. And why does the chat have slow mode? I don't know. I just thought if you guys don't want slow mode, I'll see if I can turn it off. There's not that many people here. I think when I was just setting things up initially, I thought, oh, slow mode, that sounds like a good idea, because I'm not very good at keeping up with the chat normally. I have it on a second monitor now, so I can see it all the time. But before, I was using my phone, and I was worried if it wasn't in slow mode that I was going to miss stuff and have to scroll back up. Yes, I'm going to leave the VOD up. I'm going to leave the VOD up, so whatever you miss, you'll be able to watch the VOD and catch up on it, Warp Core. Thank you. And I'm sorry it's so late for you there, that you can't watch it live. Warp Core is one of the other people heavily involved with the project, so yeah, throw a Doomsday Machine into the subscribe button. Yeah, send it to Stovacore. What am I even doing? Content live, this stream. Can I change the settings? Can I change the slow modes? Will this work? Will this update in real time? I don't know. I'm trying to turn slow mode off. I don't know if it worked though. Okay, slow mode is off now, so Feel free to spam whatever you want. I mean, please don't, but you know. Okay. All right, slow mode is off. All right, so now we've got this nice two-liner here. We can just grab our slice using, and you can see how it gets passed along, right? So we get the instance object, then we pass it into this function as an argument, and then we in turn don't do anything with it specifically. Instead, we just use it again as an argument to be passed into the get slice function. So now we get our slice that's of that instance. And now we can just index the data frame to say that we only want that P prefix that I showed earlier. So if you missed it earlier, I had this Excel sheet open for data exploration. And if we come back here and look at this second column, you can see that it'll either have a P as a prefix to this bracketed information, or it'll have a C. And if it's a P, then it's a player character, and if it's a C, then it's not a player character. So we can just filter it out and say we are only going to index the data frame to be if it has that P as a prefix there, and then we want it to be unique because there's going to be lots and lots of lines in the combat log that all have the same character name. Excuse me. Sorry about the yawn there. So we want to get it, the unique, so that we only get one of each. And if we come back over here, now the next line is player list is get player list at instance, and then for player in player list, do something. So now we could just say, using the wrong keyboard again, print player. So just do that. Just print player. And let's go ahead and try it out. So Python oscar.py. What I got here? What did I mess up? Why is it mad at me? I have my indents wrong. For player and player list, print. Oh, right. Print player. Save that. That was a rookie mistake. Okay. Now let's go ahead and fire it up again. And now we get this printout here that has that column from before. And this is going to uniquely identify each person, each player character. So like this one here, for example, the P for player character, then it's got the player ID, and then it has his player name at his @ tag. Now we come back over here, and that's just like the basics, right? So that's enough to give us, let me see how many people are in here. Sorry, give me just a moment. All right, looks like we still have like 11 people in here, so that's good. So that's just to give you the basics, right? We haven't really calculated any stats yet. We've kind of just loaded it into a data frame, sorted out the different combat instances, and then peeled off all the different player characters, but we haven't really done more than that. So now we get this like laundry list of functions. Most of them are completed, some of them aren't. So for example, here's a bunch that haven't been completed yet. Get average crit, I haven't done it yet. Get max crit, haven't done it yet. Get base shield damage, haven't done it yet. So some of these are not going to be hard to do, I just haven't done them yet. So there's some function stubs here that haven't been filled out yet. But a lot of them have been filled out, so we can get some stats. And some of them are trickier to do than others. So let's go ahead and look at some pretty tricky ones. For example, what's a difficult one? A real hard one is hit rate. Hit rate was really annoying. Hit rate was very, very, very annoying. So what's the deal with the hit rate? And get attacks in. This one is a bit clever, to be honest, if I might say so myself. So we had this long discussion going, more action packed than any ISE. It's certainly lasting longer than any ISE. We had this long discussion going on in the Discord. So this has been an evolving project, and I would liken it to trying to build a house when the blueprints aren't finished being written yet. So we still didn't understand everything about how the parse or how the combat logs are formatted when we started working on it. Still didn't understand everything about Stowe combat meter when we started working on it. So changes have had to be made on the fly, and revisions have had to be made on the fly in order to get the numbers to come out right. And Stowe combat meter is sort of being used as the benchmark to say, well, if it matches up with Stowe combat meter, then then it's correct, and if it doesn't match, then there's something wrong with it. And we knew that there was going to be an issue with having the same attack be broken up into multiple lines, and not only broken up into multiple lines, because let's say that you have a target that doesn't have any shields. There's only going to be one line. There's going to be a whole line. If an enemy has shields, there could be a whole line and a shield line for the same attack. 40-second run soon, my god. That's terrifying. I mean, 90 seconds or less was already pretty crazy. The idea that we get down to 40 seconds is terrifying. Exciting, but terrifying. But then you can have over shields and secondary shields and all this stuff. So you could hypothetically have, 5 lines that all represent the same attack. How in the world do you sort that out? Because again, in the file itself, it doesn't tell you. There isn't some nice little thing in there that says, oh, these are all part of the same attack. So you kind of have to infer it somehow. And figuring out how to get it so that it would work correctly was a bit of a struggle. So get attacks here. Let's get attacks function. So first we have to get all of the activities. That's just what I'm calling all the things that you're doing. Firing a weapon, a pet using an ability, whatever, anything like that. Anything that's being done, any activity. So we're going to get slice, the slice object, dot activity source dot unique. So all of the unique activities that were in that slice. And we have a total set to, initialized to 0. Then for each activity in the activities list, ahoy, Stephen! Thanks for joining the chat. I see you there. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to have to add up, get the result of the get attack function, which is a separate function, which takes in the instance, the player, the activity, and the slice. And again, the reason why it takes the slice as an argument is so that because we're not modifying it. So we are going to pass along the one that was passed to us. So this happens a lot in this program. We have this slice is being given to us as an argument, and we're passing it in as an argument to another function. And this will help reduce the overhead some. So now for each activity, we're calling this get attack function. Okay, this is a bit too action-packed for me tonight. Goodbye, Gauss. When will you do another stream? I don't know when I'm going to do another stream, but there definitely will be more streams. There probably are going to be 2 different kinds of streams. I'll probably do some free-to-play streams that are open to everyone where I play on the free-to-play account. and I'll probably do some member only or Patreon only memberships. I'm probably going to open up memberships and maybe also Patreon. I don't know if people want that or if YouTube memberships are fine. I actually have some custom artwork coming, so I went ahead and commissioned some custom artwork for badges. So the longer that you've been, a channel member, you'll get, a different badge. They haven't come back yet, so I haven't been able to upload them, but that'll be exciting to share with everyone. So there'll probably be some streams for everyone for free to play stuff and maybe not free to play. I guess it just depends on what people want. I'll probably do some polls to figure out what people want to watch. And then there'll probably be some exclusive hangout streams where people can, ask questions and stuff. And it's a bit more chill and personal. So I don't know when. That was a lot of words that didn't answer your question. When will it be? I don't know. There'll probably be a schedule at some point, but I don't know what it is yet. But thanks for the question and thanks for coming by. So now we have to pass our activity to this get attack function that's going to process just a single activity in the slice for the player. And I started doing documentation, so you can see I got a doc string here. Live long and prosper. Yeah, thanks. So I put in a doc string because I started doing documentation. This was the test case for that. So that's another thing on the bucket list of stuff to do is that you'll notice there's very little comments and there's very little documentation. So if I just gave you these files, you'd be spending a long time, chasing all the threads to figure out what the hell everything does. So I need to get it documented as well. That's another thing that needs to happen. So if the activity is in exclude attacks, and that's another constant which is in the settings file. So for example, exclude attacks right now includes shield scraping and tachyon charges for reasons that I don't remember right now, but there is a reason for it, I promise. And this could be a custom setting, so you could change it if you wanted to be, to be whatever. But this is what's in here right now for particular reasons. So the first thing to do is to check to make sure this isn't meant to be an excluded activity. And then if it is, we return 0 because those don't count. If it's not in the excluded list, then we have an index list and a shield index list. The index list is the slice indexed for the activity and turned into a numpy array. The shield index list is the slice indexed by the activity and specifying that the type is of shield. Also this has been put into a list, not to a numpy array. So the plot thickens, as it were, I guess. It really is getting exciting here. Oh my, he has one numpy array and one regular list. What could he possibly be doing with those? So then we have this ugly looking one-liner here. It's the sum. Basically what this is if it's a shield line and the second magnitude is 0, then we count it, because that means that there isn't going to be a corresponding whole line because it didn't break the shields. Or it's not a shield hit, then the whole line is always going to be the last line. So you can have multiple shield lines for the same attack, but you can't have multiple whole lines. So the whole line will always be the last line. So the only ones we actually have to count are shield lines that don't produce a whole line because it didn't break the shields, or any whole line, which would be the last line. And it turns out when you do it that way, it works out and you get the same results as you do with Stow Combat Meter. So that took a while. That took a couple of days to work out. I had a much longer, much more detailed function to work all this out, and it had all these obnoxious if-else statements in there going through and saying, well, if this line is a shield line, then you have to check to see if the next one's a shield line, and then if that one's a shield line, then check to see if the next one's a shield line, and this whole rabbit hole thing. And then I realized I could just condense it all down into this, and I got it to work. So that was a big breakthrough there. So, this is an example of some of these functions take 5 minutes to write. It's just a matter of indexing the combat log in some place and doing some minor thing like adding stuff up. Other functions like this end up being a bit more complicated, and it takes some more time to work out how to do it, and even more time to work out how to do it efficiently. So let's go ahead and give that a go here, just to see. So let's come back over here to OSCR. So we've got get attacks. So for each player in player list, instead of printing player, we're going to print get attacks. Now the issue here, I think that we're going to have is we need yap.get attacks. It wants the IntelliSense is not working. Come on, can the IntelliSense please work? Let me come back and see what the parameters were again. Instance player slice. Okay. Instance player. We don't have a slice yet, so we need to get a slice, which is going to take. To remember the order of the parameters. That's part of the issue too. Instance player flag. We want instance player damage. Now I'm thinking that this isn't going to work because this needs to be yap.getSlice. I'm thinking this isn't going to work because I had just recently changed it to where the player in the player list was like that whole column, so that it would be actually unique and you wouldn't run the danger of two people having the same character name causing problems. And I don't think that function has been updated yet to deal with that. So let me just check and see. Instance player. Well, I don't know if get slice has even been updated to work properly with that. If player slice is equal to slice.source, source is not going to be the player though. It would be player ID. This is where the stream turns into me just working on it. So, and still trying to demonstrate it. This is I think maybe a better way for now would be to go back and we could just need to change it to player ID, I think. So now we'll say player ID. We'll go to get tax. Activity, come up here, player. What are we using player for? Are we using player in here? Why is it being input? I think it's grayed out. We're not using it. I think the reason why is because in the past I was having it call get slice as well before I added the optimization to pass along the one that was already used as a parameter because for optimization reasons. So I don't think it'll matter because I don't think we're using it here. Let's give this a try and see if it works. Here's hoping. Okay, it worked. Let's check that against Stow Combat Meter to make sure it's giving us the same results. All right. Same parse is opened up here. And this is attacks. So I don't think that is I don't think that's on the main page here. I think we're going to have to check per person. Let's come in here. I don't have the names associated with it. Attacks 935 for Explodin. And we have, it's not right. We have a 999. K-Wolves attacks 2,884. It's 2,884, so that one's correct. McStew 2001 attacks 1,392. 1,392, that's correct. Nick 1997 something or other attacks 1459. We do not have a 1459, and for Spencer we get 2,930, and we have a 2,957. So there's definitely an issue here. The attacks value is not correct. So there's still something wrong with it. I thought it was fixed, but maybe it's not. So I don't know where the issue with that is though. So some of them are correct and some of them are not. And when some of them are correct and some of them aren't, you kind of have to go in and see, well, what's different? You know, what was different between the ones that came out right and the ones that weren't? And oftentimes it'll be something weird like, well, this is how you end up with stuff like excluded attacks, excluded damage, all this stuff, right? So maybe something wasn't being accounted for. Something that Stow Combat Meter may have been excluding something that we're not, or vice versa. Yeah. Let's check some of the other ones here, like hit rate. Let's try hit rate. Just change this from attacks to hit rate. Hit rate, I don't remember if it has the same parameters or not. Hit rate has instance, player, slice, and source. Instance, player, slice, and source. That would be so we could itemize by, like, I only want the hits for the quad phaser cannons or whatever. Let's just leave it blank and let it be for everything. So it's giving us the misses and then the hit rate as percentage, but written as a value between 0 and 1. Let's go back and take a look. And again, I don't remember his hit rate in here. We may have to go to the individual reports in order to get it. So let's compare this here. So for Explodin, we've got a hit rate of 99.68, and these are not going to be in the correct order because I didn't have the name printed with it. 99.69. These are also similar. Let me go back in and add the names so we can actually compare them properly. Get hit rate. Let's print the player as well so we can compare it properly. Okay, so for where is Explodin at? K-Wolves Explodin 99.69. Stow Combat Meter says 99.68. That's within, such a small margin, it's probably due to rounding error or a difference in rounding. They probably rounded down because their display doesn't go past 2 digits. For K-Wolves, we have a hit rate of 99.9. Over here, K-Wolves, we have a hit rate of 99.89, which they rounded up to 99.9. So this is just a difference in rounding. Mixed Stew had a hit rate of 99.71. We come over here, Mixed Stew, we get 99.71. Nick had a hit rate of 100%. Here we see Nick has a hit rate, or at Nick, has hit rate of 100%. Spencer, hit rate 99.69. We check it over here. Spencer, 9 misses, hit rate 0.9969. So it checks out. So this function seems to be accurate. The discrepancy is due to the fact that I'm not rounding the digits up to 2 decimal points and 2 decimal places, and the combat meter is. So that function is working properly. How about crit percentage? Let's try that one. Yap.get crit percentage. And it's probably the same instance, player, source. It doesn't take in a slice, so we're going to have to cut that out. Get these, did it not update properly? We're still being given the misses, but I think this is supposed to be the crit rate here. So Spencer, crit rate of 43.58%. On here we have crit rate of 43.24. So that is a small discrepancy. Nick, we have a crit rate of 24.33. Nick here has a crit rate of 23.46. So that's another small discrepancy. K-Wolves, and this is probably due to the hit rate, because you have to remember that the crit rate is determined. One of the factors that goes into the crit rate is the hit rate. So if the hit rate is a little bit off like it was earlier, then the crit rate's going to be off as well. It's not off by a lot. So here we have 45.4 for K-Wolves, and up here we got 45.4. So that one was bang on. There's nothing wrong with it. This stream is actually rather therapeutic with the slow pace and your voice. Well, thank you very much. If I can put people to sleep, that's great. You know? I mean, people pay for that. You're getting it for free. So that's value right there. Check Mixed Stew, crit rate 29.68. Check it over here, 29.68. Bang on. So there are tiny little discrepancies here and there. They're very small, usually like a percentage point. Narrowing down and figuring out where those tiny discrepancies are from, whether or not it's a choice that was made by the Stow Combat Meter developers, that is, or whether, is it a deficiency in the algorithm? Am I actually computing these statistics incorrectly, or is it a difference in, I don't know what you want to call it, settings, basically? Stow Combat Meter excludes certain things. I'm excluding certain things. Based on some of the choices you make, the stats are going to come out differently. So, you know what we should do? Before I take a break to go to the bathroom and make another martini, let's look at something that's actually a bit more exciting and look at some graphs. That's right. This stream is so boring that it's only just now going to get interesting, because we're going to look at a graph. Okay. So let me find some plot. Plot damage, plot DPS. That's the good stuff, right? Okay, I think we still have to do plot.show to make it show up, but let's go with we don't need this player list. Plot DPS. No, we need app.plot DPS. Plot DPS. Instance. Oh, we do need a player. Oh, we should plot all of them. For player in player list. Plot yap.plot DPS. Yap.plot DPS. Instance player. Default interval. Yap.default interval. This is another setting in the settings file. Let's take a look at that real quick. So in settings.py, we have default interval. Where is that at? 0.1 seconds. So this is actually the interval that you get in the combat log. So the combat log will actually give you you can see here you got 21, that's the year, 12, that's the month, 27, that's the day, then hour, minutes, seconds, and then tenths of a second. So the resolution of the combat log is in tenths of a second. So if you want the resolution of the plot to match the resolution of the combat log, then a tenth of a second is the appropriate interval. But you can change it, and if you change it, it will change the plot. So we're going to use the default interval, which is from the settings file, which is the same as the combat log. Now, once all that has been plotted, then we have to plot it. So I have to say plot.show. Okay, now let's plot this thing. And we get a plot of the DPS for that combat log. Let's compare that against the DPS chart of, so here we go, get it on the screen here. Let's compare the two. So over here on the right, this is the graph that we get from Stow Combat Meter. Over here on the left, this is the plot that I just made. What's wrong? Oh, it's delayed. It's delayed like 30 seconds. So, there are discrepancies in this graph. If you look at the graph on the right, you'll see that it comes up here, and then it comes down a little bit, and it has a little bit of a crook here, and then it comes down some more. Mazuka Sinju says, do I need a martini to understand all of this? My answer to that is, it couldn't hurt to try, right? Let's say the martini doesn't help you understand it. What does it hurt to try, right? I mean, you'll never know unless you make one, and I think that I should make one too. So I'm going to leave these beautiful graphs up on the screen, and I'm going to switch you guys over to my, would you prefer Okay, amazingly, I don't seem to have really lost anyone, so thank you everyone for sticking around so I can be an alcoholic. Not really, but I'm working on it. Um, yeah, what does it hurt to have one? You know, exactly. Doesn't hurt anything. You'll never know if you don't try. Um, it feels a bit early in the year for martinis. I was mostly drinking whiskey, but I just had a hankering for a good martini. So, all right, let's get back. We finally made it to the fun part, the graphs. Your viewing count went up when you went to get a drink. People are like, thank God he finally shut up. Now I can tune in. When will he stop with this endless drivel? All right, we're finally rewarded with the sweet, sweet plots and graphs that everyone's been looking forward to. All right, let's take a look at a damage chart now instead of a DPS chart. Must have been the exiting screen. Nothing going on, yeah. All right, we have a plot DPS summary. Get combat offset. We're at this here. Plot damage. There we go. Plot damage takes instance, player, interval, source. So we can filter out by source as well. This is the one of the things that Stow Combat Meter can't do. So let's come back here to, well, let's plot the regular one first, and then we'll go back and show. So this will be the first time we're really showing like a new feature. Like, talking about earlier, what's the point of doing all this? I mean, the main one is really just making it so that we can fix up the server side stuff, and so that there's a version of the program that can still have maintenance done on it because it's open source, and we don't, if one guy gets hit by a bust, then we don't have to worry about no one being able to fix it anymore. But being able to add nice new features as well that we didn't have before. So Stow Combat Meter, you can get DPS chart, damage chart, but it's all or nothing. You can filter it out by individual player, and that'll give you like a little bit of a better view, because you can see if we put everyone in here, that person was drowned out because Spencer did so much more than everyone else that all the other bars are a little tiny down here. So you do get a little bit of something where you can filter down and get like a better view that way, but you can't really get into the nitty gritty and say, I only want to see the damage from this particular torpedo or whatever. So you're going to be able to do that in the future. The technology is finally here, thank God. Um, we're not curing cancer or anything. We're doing something completely as useless as this. All right, so let's plot damage. We could be doing like protein folding sequences or something useful. So here's a damage graph, which should be similar to the damage graph here, which of course it is. So here's side by side of the two different damage graphs. And it has the same sort of an issue, right? You can see the other colors here, but they're so drowned out that you can barely tell what's going on. The bars on mine are a little bit thicker, so it does look a little bit different, but that's just because the bars on mine are a little bit fatter. But if I stretched it out, I think it might look a little bit different. I'm not sure if I could get it to do it. No, they're still kind of fat. Anyway, let's go ahead. Oh, sorry. Cat's attacking me. I guess the cat doesn't like the graph. I don't know. I promoted you to Captain, Ginger. You could show a little more respect. You're gonna get court-martialed. That's right. It's the Mirror Universe version of my cat. It's hard to tell. You can never tell when you have a mirror universe cat because they all have facial hair. So it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. They're also all traders. So actually, is there any difference? Are regular cats and mirror universe cats just the same? Is that like the nexus point where the two universes meet? Where where they're the same on both sides? Maybe there's only just cats. Maybe there is no mirror universe cats. There's just cats. It's the one constant in the universe that all cats are dicks sometimes. Okay. All right. We were talking about something important before that, I think. Ginger, seriously, stop attacking me. So now we can put in a source. So let's go back to the combat meter here and take a look at the combat report. And let's find Spencer here. Now let's take a look at some particular ability that we want to look at, let's say. Let's say I only want to see the damage from Concentrate Firepower 3. Okay, fine. We'll come in here and I'll put in Concentrate Firepower. And let's hope I didn't misspell it or have a typo. And now there's nothing to compare it to because Stow Combat Meter doesn't produce a graph like this. This is a completely new feature that will be in the new parser that we never had before. So now you can filter out your graphs by specific abilities. So this is showing only Concentrate Firepower 3 damage. Or we could put in anything, that you would want to check out. So if anything is, all jokes aside, if anything is exciting here, it's probably these new features. But I need to go now. Might be back in an hour if you're still streaming by then. Nice stream, by the way. Thank you so much, Starlay. Appreciate it. Have a good night. If you're back later, that's cool. And if not, then have a good rest of your weekend. Okay. So now we have the ability to graph things by specific ability, which is pretty nice. One of the other big improvements that I could show off is the pet filtering. So I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't really have a chance to show it off. So you were seeing before that isolytic tears were showing up in the regular list of abilities, and they were also showing up as a pet. So if you wanted to actually find out what the total was, you had to find it in both places and then add it up. So I've made some improvements to the filtering so that you don't have to do that anymore. So let's find we want to get damage. Just get damage, I think. We want to just get damage. Get damage itemized. So we have a function get damage, and then we have a get damage itemized function. So let's go ahead and call that. Yap dot get damage. Does it print it, or do I have to print it? I'm constantly changing things, and sometimes some functions are not updated. It does print. Okay, this one prints for you. Get damage, which is not what I wanted to do. It should just return the values. So that's not been updated properly. Get damage, itemized, instance, player, and then it should do the rest. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Well, hold on. Has it been updated for get damage itemized, instance, player, get slice? Do. Okay, it should work. It should be fine. Okay, this is going to be a lot, obviously. We're not seeing. I should have printed the player names here. Hold on. For player and list, print player, and then after we print all that, let's print a couple of new lines here just to make the separation a little bit more obvious. This is the kind of thing that would be, in a GUI, and would look nice. So this is just rough and ready for the command line here. So here we can see it's itemized by player. So we've got K wolves here, and what do we do? We did damage or DPS? We did damage. So Ba'ul anti. There was a problem with the Ba'ul, not the Ba'ul, the mycelial. If you had the 3-piece ability, there was some issue with that where we had to do some filtering. So there was some stuff with tanks that had to be put into the settings file to get filtered out specially. But you can see it's all itemized here. Let's look for Spencer, because Spencer is going to be the one who has isolytic tears. So let's find isolytic tears on here, and we have 1.46 million damage, and we shouldn't see isolytic tear show up on here anymore. Is that 14 million? What's it? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 14 million, 14.65 million. If we take a look here at the individual thing here, we get an isolytic tear on here for 1 point. Let's go ahead and add this up. Okay, everyone brace yourselves. I don't want you to get a heart attack. This is going to be so exciting that it may trigger some of you, and I don't want anyone to get overexcited here. I'm going to open up the calculator. Okay, we have and of course I have it on scientific mode because I'm that much of a goober. So we got the scientific calculator built into Windows here. So we take this one here, 1596949, and we're going to have to add that to the one that's listed under pets. So if we're doing this the Stowe Combat Meter way, we have to find it in both spots and add it up. And we get 14.65. Come back over here, we got 14.65. So we've managed to condense it all down into one line. It's not going to show up in two different places anymore. So, and isolytic tears are not the only thing that do that. There's a bunch of stuff that does that now. So it can be difficult to really, when you're using Stowe Combat Meter, it can be a little bit difficult. You can't always trust when you see something. You may have to go into multiple places and add it up to get the true total. So that's all been sorted out now, and even if it's not, even if I miss something, well, that's fine. We'll just go in and add it to the filters, and then it won't be a problem anymore. So this sort of thing isn't going to be a problem anymore. So those are probably from a end user's perspective. So if you're someone if you're thinking to yourself, okay, this all sounds great, but why should I care? I use Stowe Combat Meter. It works great. Why are you trying to sell me on using a different one? Well, from an end user perspective, these are the two big selling points, I guess, other than also having a more, feature-rich leaderboard. Then you also get these sort of quality of life improvements as well. You get better graphs, and you get better reporting. So those are the big sort of improvements here. Okay, I don't think I have much else to show off. I think we've kind of finished the sort of demonstration part of everything. Does anyone have any questions? Because if or if you came in late, if not, then I might just spend this next hour or so that the stream is supposed to be on, just working on it and trying to add more work on the code and make it better while chatting, obviously. give people. I know there's a stream delay, so I'm going to give people a little bit of time here to respond. Can I show you how to get good? Well, you see, the problem is that you're a filthy casual, right? It's there in the name, casual SAB. You're never going to get good if you're a casual. So, the first step to getting good is to stop being a casual and get hardcore. Start a YouTube channel, become the admin of a DPS leaderboard, start your own Discord, right? Subscribe to Gauss on YouTube, right? These are the first steps that you got to take. Maybe if you did all that, then you could get good. Oh yeah, and make a martini. That's good. It's good martini. Frowny face. uh, uh, Become a whale. I wouldn't want to be a whale, you know. Hi, I just turn on what you're doing. What I'm doing is well, first of all, welcome to the stream. Rodolfo, I think I probably pronounced your name wrong. So welcome. If you don't know what's going on, I'm not playing Star Trek Online tonight, but what I'm doing is there is an open source project by the community or some members of the community to make a new parser for the game. And if you don't know what the parser is, it's just a third-party tool for people who play on the PC version of the game to read the combat logs generated by the game and produce some statistics that people find useful and entertaining. And the one of the big ones that people use, Stow Combat Meter, it's just gotten a bit out of date, and we're just wanting to make a new one that would be more in line with what we want to do in the future. It'll be a little bit more feature rich, and it will allow us to improve the leaderboard experience. The best Stow stream of all time. If I ever need a blurb for the back of a book, that'll be it. So Spencer wishes he was a whale. Needs something but don't want to put money in for it. If these game companies really wanted whales so bad, then you'd think you could pay them in krill. But they want money. Have you ever met a whale that had money, cash money? They live in the ocean. It's gonna get wet and fall apart. It's like they don't even think. Whales don't have money, they have krill. They don't even have pockets. They don't have wallets or purses. They don't even have a Bitcoin wallet. I see. Yeah, I have some time in Stow. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, how long have you been playing? Are you playing on the console version or the let me do a quick poll here. People like that, right? Human beings like polls, right? What version of the game do you play on? PC, console, all right. Let's see here. I just threw up a poll. Nah, Krill is Orville. I haven't really been watching. I don't know if you mean the Orville, the TV show. I haven't really been watching that. I need to get around to it. I like Family Guy, so I like Seth MacFarlane, but PC 6 years on and off. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, polls get me so hot. Yeah, me too. Who wants to go out on a weekend and party when you can stay home and fill out an internet poll? It's a Ruby Tuesdays. Let's see the results of this poll. Why isn't it showing me the whole thing? All right, we've got 80% for PC, 10% for console, and 10% of people who seem to think it's a Wendy's. Oh, Orville the popcorn guy, like Orville Redenbacher. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna have to do another video from a Wendy's. Yeah, I think I watched most of season one of the Orville, but obviously there's a lot more of it now. So I have seen some of it, but I haven't seen most of it. 42 characters and counting. I'm going the casual SAB grind route. Yeah, grinding is okay. It works, but it takes a lot of time, and the way the markets are right now, it's pretty difficult to. I mean, I would be demoralized. I've always said if I was, playing the game completely for free and I was starting from nothing, I wouldn't bother doing any of that. I would just take advantage of the event campaigns, the winter, summer, and anniversary ships, and I just would, maybe pick up the odd, thing here or there off the exchange. I might try and grind out enough stuff to get the cap lifted, but I'd probably just not bother, you know. That's just me personally, but I understand why other people do it. And the truth is, the thing no one really wants to acknowledge is that, if you're a new character or you're a new account, you need a lot of dilithium. A lot of dilithium, millions and millions of dilithium to get all the upgrades you need, to get fleet marks, to unlock trait slots and all that stuff. You need a lot of dilithium. And I think sometimes in-game players who've been playing for a long time, who've already unlocked all that stuff, who have a lot of stuff in reserves, kind of forget that, and they forget that new players coming up need a lot of dilithium, and so it doesn't really occur to them that it's actually a valuable resource. All you ever see on Reddit and stuff is people complaining that it's worthless. It's not worthless. If you're starting fresh, or if you're starting a new character, it's not worthless at all. It's hugely important. I have over 150 dill boxes I need to burn through. I wish I had the patience to have 50 gem hadars all mining dilithium. It's just, I mean, it's the same reason I don't do endeavors most of the time. It's busy work. It's tedious, monotonous, pointless busy work. I have better things to do in my life. Even if I didn't have, even if I didn't have, you know, any money to spend on the game and I was playing it completely for free, like I'm doing on the free to play account that I just started to do the new series. I still don't think it's worth my time. I would just rather do without than to spend my time doing that. But everyone has to make that calculation for themselves of what their time is worth, what their money is worth. I know there are people who play in other countries. Captain Geronimo, I think, is in Croatia, and he's you know, the prices are even more outrageous for him. So his the time to money ratio for him to do that stuff is a lot better for him if he compares it to his own currency than it is for someone like me who lives in New York City. So I mean, it's up to each person to decide what they want to do. When I found out what it takes for in-game, starting 2 years ago, it made me wail for a bit just to catch up. A lot of people are talking about these new Terran ships and saying, well, this ship is like the Kirk, which is a gamble ship, and this ship is like the Janeway, which is a gamble ship, and this ship is like, the Quigelian, frigate, which is a gamble ship, and so on. And it's like all these new anniversary ships are basically copies of gamble ships that they used to have in the game, and it's like stuff comes out and it's like, oh, this is the new hotness, it's the new thing. People will go out and spend hundreds of dollars to get it for a tiny little fractional increase in performance, and then 6 months later you can either get the same thing for $30 because they release something like this, or they release something else that's 2% better, and then it's like, well, okay, well, you spent a couple $100 just to be the best of the best, but it only lasted for a little while. Now you got to buy something else, and it's like no one can keep up with that, you know. And if you do keep up with it, I mean, you're just, in my personal opinion, it's just a waste of money. Even if you have the money, even if you have the money to spend, even if you are one of those very rare people who actually just have money to burn, you could be spending it on something better than this. No one should be giving, these game companies hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's just my opinion. Um, I do it because it's kind of like a job for me because I make videos. If I wasn't making videos, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I wouldn't buy the vast majority of the stuff I buy. That's just reality. I never used to before I had YouTube. Before I had YouTube money, such as it is. Every dollar I get so far has gone back into the game so I can keep making videos. They put it on the shelf and forget about it. Well, that's the thing. Other thing is the stuff comes out so often. It's like, how long do we wait to get new actual story content? But every 2 weeks there's more gambling shit. So you know where their priorities are. And no one ever wants to say anything bad. you know, no one ever wants to rock the boat. No one, I feel like no one but me ever wants to say, don't buy this. It's not worth your money. People will bend over backwards to take something very mediocre and say, "Oh, well, this could be really, really great." It's fine. Everything they release is fine. But when you're talking about spending money, it's okay to say, "This is just not worth your money." You regret picking up the Terran bundle? I really only needed the one ship. I won't be using three of them. Yeah, I think that it was smart on their part to let people buy the stuff individually. I think there'll probably be a lot of people who don't buy the whole thing this year, and are just going to get the individual one or two of the individual ships. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was my cat. My cat has gone crazy. We got our cat, and when we went to the shelter to get her, she was the sweetest, nicest, most polite cat you ever met in your life. That would say, "Pardon me, do you have a home I can come to? I will take naps on your lap every day and be the sweetest cat in the world." And now she meows all the time. She wants attention. She wants the closet doors open all the time. She'll bite you if you don't play with her enough. It's terrible. I need to keep up with the chat. I got behind on the chat. Also, I'm proud to see that we're up to 12% on the Wendy's option. I enjoy the Endeavor system. It gives a new tune a leg up when I roll a new alt. I'm kind of torn on the Endeavor system because it's like, I remember what it was like before the Endeavor system. And if people complain that there's nothing to do in the game now, you should have played it before, because there was really nothing to do in the game. And so at least if you're the kind of person who wants to log in and play every day, it gives you something to do, and it gives you a reward that you can get. So that's nice, right? Like it's better than nothing. But on the other hand, it's also completely arbitrary, because it's just like, go kill 30 of this thing, or go do 500,000 damage of that weapon type, or whatever. And so it just feels like busy work. which it is. It's better than nothing. It's better than what we had before, which was nothing. Thank you. But it's still not great, and I think they could have come up with something better. Let me see here. When I found, yeah, okay, I already read that. Sorry. Ships are ships, but the trades are still needed. Yeah, that's true. But you can only have 6, right? So it's like if you spend a bunch of money on a trait and then it's, becomes the 7th best trait, then it's like, well, you know, the 7th best trait may as well be the worst trait because you can only use 6. You have only 800,000 unrefined dill. That's more than I have right now. Fly what you love. They put it on the shelf and forget about the next shiny. I'm one of the okay. I'm behind. I'm behind. I'm the worst. I am the worst at streaming. I'm the worst stream runner. I'm rereading comments I already read earlier. I've seen people get banned for that. Oh, this is why official forums are garbage and why everyone uses Reddit. If you say anything, at anything, if a game publisher farted and you said it only smells like roses and not sweet roses, you would get banned from the official forums. There's a reason why nobody uses them. I hate admitting how much I spent to get sad on a character I don't even play anymore. Was definitely more than the bundle now, and I have it for every character. Yeah. I mean, it's like the mud bundles and all that stuff are a step in the right direction. It's cheaper overall, and it's guaranteed, and it's account unlocked and all that stuff, but they're still too expensive. No DLC should ever cost that much money. Every episode has to have at least 3 SAG voice actors. I mean, that's not a bad thing, though. It takes longer for them to make them, but they're higher quality. A lot of the old episodes and missions and stuff were pretty low quality. We pretty regularly get actual TV show cast members and stuff like that, and voice acting, and they put more work into the visuals and everything. So, I mean, I don't mind it because the quality has gone up, so I think it's a good thing. Cats being cats, yeah. Plenty of things I've spent money on in this game that I've invested in, but the Terran bundle is not one of those things. Like, as far as this game goes, it's good value, which isn't saying anything, but I could definitely see people being disappointed with it. I was disappointed with the Cygnus. Somebody left a comment like, "Oh, you're the first person I've seen gave a negative review," which I didn't think it was that negative. It just wasn't positive. And it's like, yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. No one will. Everyone's too afraid to say anything negative. Hey, man, just call a spade a spade. If they release a dud, just call it a dud. Maybe a good idea for a video could be the 8 C store that you really do just fine. I need to do an update. I have plans to do a new top 10 C store ships. The old one is over a year old now, and and last year they came out with just so many good ones, and this new 12th anniversary bundle, because those 4 new ships are available individually, those would all count for a list like that. So I think when I make the new list, it's going to be pretty different. I'd be surprised if very many ships from the last one actually survived to the new one. Alright, where am I at in the chat here? Been playing since launch. I remember the battle days of Space Desert. Yeah, definitely for sure. No, the game is better now, 100%. Like when there was a period where you'd go 4 months and there would be literally nothing to do and nothing added to the game. Like people are like, "Oh, is the game dying?" It really felt like it was dying back then. I was like, "Did I start playing a dying game?" Like they didn't add anything for like months and months at a time. There's always events going on right now. There's endeavors you can do every day. Like there's stuff going on. Like the game feels active in a way that it didn't in the past. I chased a lot of traits that I don't ever use now. Most of them suck. I mean, I have a lot of them for reasons, but it's like, yeah, most traits suck. I don't chase DPS, I just tank and count my blessings. That's good. That's good. Just be sure you're using suppression barrage. Reddit is the same. They will ban you for farting and not being the flavor they prefer. I'm banned on the Star Trek Online Reddit. Um, I know I've told that story before, but I don't know if everyone who's in the stream right now knows that. Yeah, I've been banned from the Star Trek Online subreddit for years because I was too much of a dick. I guess They thought I was an asshole. Knights of the Old Republic forced them to do voice acting in missions back in the day. I never played that. Um, did they get like actors from the Star Wars movies? Drunken says there are others that are poo-pooing the Cygnus. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know that I'm not the only one. Okay, well, I've finally gotten caught up on the chat for what it's worth, so now that we're done talking about the game, who would want to do that? Let's get back to the exciting world of Python coding. If type flag equals float, return none. Oh man, I can barely contain myself. This function right here, this one's gonna have to get moved to OnlyFans. I don't even think I'm allowed to put that out at this time of day. Chewing an M&M, I hope it's not like destroying anyone wearing headphones. No, because Star Wars: The Old Republic takes place thousands of years before. Oh, that's right. I mean, like I said, I hadn't played it, so I wasn't 100% sure. It was the big appeal of Knights of the Old Republic when it came out. The whole game is completely voice acted. I mean, that's pretty cool. Who doesn't like that, right? Who doesn't want high production value in their games? Oh, yeah, I figured that's what you meant. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Because Knights of the Old Republic, those are the role-playing games. I've played those. I have played Knights of the Old Republic. I haven't played the MMO though. Spencer says you're the mastermind behind the new parser. Yeah. Um, I mean, at least so far. I mean, I don't have access to anything that anyone else has, right? I started with a combat log, which everyone has, if you just tell the game to generate it. And I was on the Discord, and I talked to people on there like Vel and Warpcore, who helped me out with figuring out how to understand the parses or the logs, and I have Stow Combat Meter, which everyone has access to. So it's not like I have any sort of secret. I don't have any authority. There's no official partnership with the game or anything. Um, Anyone could do what I'm doing. I literally have no special access or privileges or authority that anyone else has. It's just that I've just sort of taken the lead on it, and I've been doing it. But yeah, I mean, anyone could be doing it if they wanted to. It's just whether you're willing to put the effort in or not. I think maybe there's a couple of people who have decided that because I've taken the lead that they wouldn't do it because there didn't seem to be any point in having two competing things going on. So maybe that's an issue for some folks. But yeah, I guess I just heard the call to arms and I picked up the baton. And that this is the most exciting thing you could do on a Sunday evening. Is just look at some Python code. Okay, I think we're at a point now where I should probably just be fixing the code. Let's see if we can implement some more features here. Let's look for some function stubs that haven't been filled out yet. Kills, get kills. That ought to be an easy one, right? I don't know whether that should take a slice. Should that take a slice, or should that call? Let's just have it call its own slice for now. Wrong keyboard again. Get slice, instance, player, and we want it to be only damage. We need to get the flags, and I have a parse flags function here. So we'll parse the flags, which this one makes its own slice, which it probably shouldn't. Let's have it use a slice that was passed in instead. And parse flags. Okay, let's come back down here to get kills. We're going to grab a slice, then we're going to get flags is equal to parse flags, get flags. We'll pass in our slice. And then we'll just check to see, is this kills or deaths? Kills, right? This is how many things we killed, not how many things killed us. That would be deaths. Do we have a get deaths? We do have a get deaths. It's already implemented. Never mind. So now we just need to sum up the number of ones that have that in there. Well, actually, is that really what we want? Parse flags. That's just giving us a unique one. That's not what we want. This isn't what we want. I'm on the wrong track here. What we want is to filter it, so we want to get the sum. Let's see how I did it before. We need the contains. Contains. It needs to be like this. Let's just copy this. Oh, it didn't copy. That's what I get. Come on. You know what? I'm just going to delete that period later. All right, copy this time, please. All right, so flag.string.contains, not critical, but let's double check what it is with the Excel spreadsheet. We want it to be, type it in exactly. It's capital K, excuse me, ILL. If the capitalization is wrong or whatever, it won't work. Okay, so we need the length of that. Why did I have dot index before? What is the index? Do I need the dot index? Let's try it. That should not be called crit heals. It should be called kills. And you know what? We can just have that be one line. We'll just switch this to have it return this. Okay, let's try this and see if it works. So for each player, print the player name, and then we're going to print get kills. Yap.kills, sorry. Yap.kills. think it takes an instance and a player, but I can't remember because the IntelliSense isn't working. Yeah, okay. All right, let's see if this works. Does not work. Yap has no attribute kills. Oh, get kills, not kills. That's why the IntelliSense isn't working. I typed the wrong thing in. There we go. Well, these numbers seem vaguely correct. Let's check the actual parser here. Okay, Spencer kills 40. That checks out. Exploding. Exploded one person, it looks like. That checks out. K-Wolves kills 4. Checks out. Nick kills 3. Where's Nick? Where you at? 3. And McStew killed nobody. And that checks out. Okay, that function seems to work now. So we have implemented the get kills function. There we go. Ta-da! The parser is now slightly more functional than it was before. Oh god, get base damage, get base hull, get... These are so boring. That's why I didn't do them. That's why I saved them for last. And that's saying something. That means I found get average crit hit was more exciting than get max hit. That's... obviously. Get max crit. Okay. Alright, we need to get a slice. Get... These should probably be changed later to take a slice as a parameter, as an argument. Instance player damage. Hold on a minute. Does that include healing crits? Because if it does, we don't want to filter for damage. Oh, what is it? What is the category here? We're doing... We're doing get max crit. Could that be a healing crit though? Or is it just damage ones? It's not listed. It has to be in the individual player report. Max 1 hit. Is max crit in here? Or am I adding that? Or is this supposed to be itemized? Oh, I think I wasn't scrolling on the chat here. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat. I think you enjoy Knights of the Old Republic really nice. Yeah, I did enjoy Knights of the Old Republic. I played it. I started playing it once, and I didn't really get into it. And then I came back to it later because everyone was like, "Oh, it's so amazing." And well, I'll have to admit, I didn't finish the second one. I did finish the first one though, and I enjoyed it. Hello, Rob. Nice to see you there. Sorry, I didn't. I mean, you were commenting before, but I didn't see that until now. My coding knowledge went as far as basic 10, print hello world 20, go to 10, ha ha ha. Hey, you know what? That's better than nothing, right? Also, your name is Hoodwinked. I find that pretty funny. Basic was the first language I learned. So, my uncle, who is only a few years older than me because I grew up in Kansas, he was in high school when I was in middle school, and he took an elective class on programming, and it was in Basic. And he came over one day, and he was telling us about it. And he was super excited about it. And we had a DOS computer. And for anyone who's too young to know what DOS is, you're banned. No, I'm kidding. I know you're not. I know you're not that young. My analytics tell me that you're all my age. so he goes into the room with the computer for like, I don't know, 4 hours or something. Oh, you're exploding. Okay, Rob. All right, so I'm analyzing a parse that has you in it. It's a small world, huh? Um, oh, that's why you said I'm here and you had the hand raised, because it was you. I got it. Okay. I got you now. Okay. I got it. I'm up to speed now. Um, and he wrote this program that was like, it used a binary search to guess. It was like a high-low game. Like, guess, you pick a number between 1 and 100, and the program is supposed to guess what it is in a certain number of guesses. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you could tell a computer how to do something it couldn't do already. And I was like, that's amazing. And so he's like, well, I'm done with this class. I don't need it anymore. So he gave me the book that they had. And I spent hours and hours reading that book and making all kinds of weird programs that would like just make circles on the screen and all kinds of other nonsense. But we're getting way off topic now anyway. But Basic was the first language that I learned, because that was the book that he had when he took that elective in college. And that's what got me into programming to start with. So nothing wrong with Basic. All right, back to the exciting stuff. No one wants endearing, stories of personal triumphs, and they want cold, hard code. What's up, guys? I'm Rajenmeister. That's the best attempt I have at pronouncing your name. I apologize if I got it wrong. Not much, just working on the parser. I got invited to some of the DPS channels. I noticed is that something people do. Yeah, it's something people do. There's really only like 3 things people do in the game once you do all the story missions. You can role play, which a lot of people call Space Barbie. So you get really invested in your character and you build a backstory for them, and you work really hard on making them all look the way you want. And you really spend a lot of time in the ship tailor, making your ship look the way you want, and all that kind of stuff, and build up a head cannon and all that kind of thing. Or you could be a filthy DPS chaser and just see how quickly you can possibly destroy the Borg. And then the third thing that you could do is, I don't know. I don't know. Just, I guess, play it as a second game and not your main game, and just only come back when there's new content. And when there's not new content, or events, then you just don't play it. They don't put out content fast enough for people to play the game consistently, and the busy work doesn't appeal to everyone. Doesn't appeal to me. Oh, sorry. I'm getting a text message here from Cryptic. They said the only appropriate way to play the game is to just give them money all the time. Okay, all right. So that's B. I think what you're supposed to do is you're just supposed to log into the game and just open loot boxes all day long. Um, and that's it. I think that's the way you're supposed to play the game. You just keep giving them money. That's probably what they want. If they could find some way to get people to give them money without, doing anything, they would probably do it. I'm surprised we don't have NFTs in the game yet. Or as I've heard it put, it's loot boxes, but even get a reward. Do you think it's possible to add your DS meter a proc tracker? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, okay. Okay, so you're asking if it's possible to add a proc tracker to the DPS meter. Sometimes I miss this kind of feature as an old WoW player. I kind of like this info. Um, I don't know if that's possible or not. What's above being a whale? Well, I'm not super familiar with this stuff completely, But as I understand it, if you spend more money than a whale, you're called a kraken. Oh yeah, someone else just said it right afterwards. It's a kraken. Yeah, that's what I've heard anyway. I've heard that the level above a whale is a kraken, and I think the level above that is a Poseidon or some nonsense like that. Yeah, Embracer Group did buy Perfect World Entertainment, so it's possible they're going to make changes to the game, but maybe not. There's no way to know. But going back to the question at hand, which I think was a really good question, was is it possible to add a proc tracker? A proc tracker. That's hard to say. Proc tractor. Proc tracker. Tracker, not tractor. We're not on a farm. um, I don't know if it's possible because not all procs are going to show up in the parse. I think it depends on what the proc does. Like a phaser proc will take a random subsystem offline. I don't know if that shows up in the parser or not. Like if a phaser proc takes their engines offline, I don't know if that actually registers in any way. So it might be possible to track some procs but not others. That's a good question. That's definitely something I'm going to have to look into. So Cryptic is the Ferengi consortium? Absolutely. 100% Cryptic are totally run by Ferengi. What level of spending is Cthulhu? I don't even want to know. That's like Jeff Bezos, I guess. At that point, you're not a spender. You just buy the company. I've heard stories that there are people who spend so much money on these kinds of games. Well, not this kind of game because this is like a computer game, but like on phone games that the developers will like have meetings with them and say, what do you want us to do? And they'll actually rearrange the development team around one person's, desires because they spend that much money. Yes, well, at least the damage procs. Yeah, I think it might be possible to do it with the ones that would show up on the meter. Yeah. It's possible the other ones do too, but I haven't really. I think I would have seen it by now. Like I've looked at a lot. I've only been looking at one parse on this stream just to keep it simple, but I've looked at a lot of parses while I've been building the parser, and um, I've never seen anything come up like that. Like I feel like it would be labeled individually, like phaser proc or something. I've never seen anything like that, so it may not be possible just because the way the combat log is formatted is too limited. All right. I have two keyboards and two mice here, and I keep consistently reaching for the wrong one. I cannot believe my cat is still awake. She's only about a year old, and she just has become insatiable when it comes to playtime. So yeah, I hadn't even thought of that, of the proc thing. I think that's if maybe there's some way to do it. We're gonna have to look into it. Yeah. Okay, Spencer's weighing in here saying most procs don't show up in the log. Yeah, I didn't think they did. Like some you might be able to detect, but I think most of them you wouldn't be able to. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If they did, you would have done it they would have done it years ago when SCM was developed. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, none of this is official, so we just have to work with what we got. We're piecing it all together. It'd be nice if there was just an API we could use and just say, "Oh, just give us all the info." And a way not to show your crit chance accuracy rate mixed with the pets and entities That would be nice too. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Because that is annoying. If you look at SCM, you look at that main page right here. Um, the crit percentage here includes your pets, and all hanger pets have really terrible crit rate, so it gets averaged into your crit rate. So if you have hanger pets, then this number is just basically useless. You kind of have to go into the individual report. Excuse me. Excuse me. Pardon me. You have to go into the individual report and sort of look item by item and say, well, this weapon had 70% crit rate and this one had 80% or whatever. Do I think Cryptic has the rules of acquisition? Um, I think they do. There's something you can get in the Lobby store that I think it's still available in the Lobby store where it gives you a rule of acquisition and then like you can collect all of them. So they must have them. Yeah. I think the guy who played Quark actually wrote the book on that, like literally wrote the book on it. Or he wrote a book about the Ferengi. I think he wrote the Rules of Acquisition book. Obviously, he didn't come up with all of them, but I think he did have the licensed book on that, which is pretty cool. There is one big downside to the way I'm doing the parser. It's not going to work for a real-time parser. So if there's going to be a real-time parser, it's going to have to be a completely separate project from the ground up. Because this uses a complete log and treats it like a database and pulls the data out and processes it, whereas a real-time log has to cumulatively focus on only one or two stats and just keep updating them and printing them out, every second or so. So it's a completely different process. And like I said before, I don't have access to any resources that anyone else has. So if anyone watching wants to spearhead that, feel free. If someone else wants to start working on the real time parser, be my guest. I've never really used the one that comes with the Stow Combat Meter. I've had problems getting it to stay on top of the game, so I just never used it. But yeah. Ah, yes, it's awesome when digestive noises get made into the mic. I apologize for that. Sorry. My mistake there. I apologize for that. I think this poll has probably been up long enough. We've got 77% for PC, 13% for console, and 10% for Sir, this is a Wendy's. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Oh, yeah. You know what this stream was missing? Raw, hard stats. There weren't enough numbers on the screen. People get bored when there's no numbers on the screen. That's why Pornhub has numbers for how many people liked it, how many people shared it. You know, people aren't entertained at just pictures and videos. You got to have those numbers. That's real. That's the real reason why they need to bring back the dislikes on YouTube. It's not enough numbers. I can't believe I've managed to entertain 12 people for this long. I can barely entertain my wife. And that's just one person. Or maybe every minute someone is leaving and a different person is coming in for 1 minute and going, this is bullshit, and then leaving. All right, let's see if we can get another function filled out here. I mean, presumably I am supposed to be doing some work here. Yeah, I was just going to do a joke about YouTube's numbers. Yeah, universal language. There's an app that will show you the dislikes. Yeah. I wonder how that works. I guess the information must be available somehow if it's able to scrape it. Some of these I'm like, man, I gotta be honest, there's some stats in here where I didn't even know these existed in SCM until I went to go and really try to like emulate it. Like average non-critical hit, who gives a shit about that? I don't. I've never even looked at that before. Is this the information people really want? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Wake Roberts. Are you not entertained? That's right. And clearly I'm the same as Maximus, you know. I'm just as handsome as Russell Crowe. Ow, 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 ow. Damn it, Ginger. Sorry, cat attacked me. I thought I had to watch this stream because I subbed. Yeah. I mean, I think you're obligated. That's the law, you know. If you subscribe to someone, you have to watch their live streams. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. At least that's how I'm hoping it works. Let's see here. What else do we not have filled out in here? All anyone cares about are crits, hits, and misses. Anything else is a waste. I mean, that's usually what I focus on. Maximus has a cat. I mean, he might have. I mean, you know, there's cats all the way back in Egyptian times. So, yeah, maybe Maximus had a cat. Who knows? Caximus. Do I have a spray bottle? No, no spray bottle. Thinking about it though. We are thinking about it. Not gonna lie. We've only had Ginger for a month and a half, something like that. So she's pretty new to the family. We had a cat in the past. And actually we had a spray bottle for the last cat. But we may have to get a spray bottle for this one. She's young. She's only like a year old, so she's still has a lot of energy. I mean, it was a guess. Yeah. So she's still a pretty young cat. Get base damage? What was I thinking when I wrote this? What does that even mean? Base damage. Is that one of the things on here? I think base damage is the non-critical hit. Is that different than average non-critical hit? Or is that just how I relabeled it? No, don't spray the cat. The cat remembers, and once you leave a drink unattended, yeah. Well, actually, you say that, but we put stuff over our drinks to keep the cat from getting into them. Base hull damage, base damage. Base shield damage. Max non-critical hit. Minimum non-critical hit. Average critical hit. Pre-debuff? Oh yeah, it could be pre-debuff. That's a good point. It could be pre-debuff. I'm gonna leave that one for now because I'm not I'm not sure how to do that one. Looks like I started doing this one and didn't finish it. Max, oh, I started doing it on this stream. Or did I? Was that a different one? We did the kills one. Get max crit, that should be pretty easy. Okay, so when I first got mine, she was a wire biter. Bit and bunny kicked my feet. The spray bottle, I can't talk. The spray bottle broker of those habits. Yeah, she does that. She bites cords, she bites strings, and she bites feet. So yeah, she does all that stuff. Maybe she does need a spray bottle. It seems kind of mean though, but yeah, she's definitely a cord biter for sure. So we need to get. We'll do a similar idea to here. And oh, why is the copy paste not working? Copy, please. Paste, please. Come on. Come on. I'm hitting Control C here. There we go. Keep using the wrong keyboard. That's why it didn't work. That's why it didn't work. I'm using the wrong keyboard. I'm not used to having two keyboards right next to each other. I keep using the wrong damn keyboard. Okay. After the first few times, you just had to point it at her. Like, I don't want to make her afraid of us, but yeah, I mean, she's biting us and stuff. It's not cool. So we may have to resort to that. I'm back as promised around an hour ago. Welcome back. You missed the party. We had pizza and cake, and we got on a plane to Vegas, and it was real exciting. So you missed all the cool stuff. Or rather, I should say you missed all the boring stuff, and now we're going to start the real party, which is the Python code. We need to filter for crit, which is spelled out fully as critical with a capital C. And we don't need the length. Yeah, the length should work. No, we need the max, not the length. We need. Does Python have a built-in max function? I don't remember. Dot max. Oh, right. We have to take the absolute value. Yeah. We have to take the absolute value. But get max crit. Oh, right. I think there was some question as to whether the crits should include healing or not. Also show the love after the spray. Give her some scratches and make sure to give her treats when she's good. I had the fish. It was a bad choice. Being that young, she has a lot of raw cat in her. Oh, that's certainly true. She definitely has a lot of raw cat in her. February 22nd, 2022, 02/22/22 falls on a Tuesday, so we can call it Tuesday. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Changing topics. Wish Craptic balanced the NPCs better. All the enemy fleets seem to be made solely by science captains, so they can spam that cursed sub nuke beam. We basically fight flying debuffs. Yeah. Well, some enemies are really annoying to fight. That's for sure. Um, I mean, part of the appeal of everyone doing Argala all the time is that the Kazon have a lot of health. They're basically just meat sponges, but they don't really do anything, so they're not obnoxious to fight like some of the other enemies. That's part of the reason I started doing my review videos on Trouble Over Terra, because that's a much harder patrol. And, Argala was just. I still do Argala to do the masteries just because you can get it done in one go. But it's gotten kind of boring. I wanted the extra challenge of having to go against the Alachi. What if we don't filter for damage and allow the max crit to be. I mean, is it implicit that the max crit is a damage crit, or could it be a healing crit? Imagine an Argala Elite solo table. I think an Argala Elite solo table would mostly come down to piloting. And I don't just mean like ability activation and all that. I mean like figuring out where all the enemy spawns are, and then like whoever can figure out how to maneuver to the next enemy spawn while you're still killing the current group would probably be get the best score, because you'd be, you know, cutting out all the travel time. Of course, the real question is, do you start it after the first group or not? Or do you have to wait, or do you have to include that downtime where you're waiting for them to deputize you? The VOD War are pretty bad, that's true. I mean, I would have to say the VOD War are definitely top contenders for the most obnoxious enemies. Where do you stand on non-combat objective patrols? I think there should be more of them. I can't remember what it's called, but there's that one where you like beam down to a star base or whatever, and you like do a little investigation, and until you discover that one of the officers there is a traitor or whatever. I don't remember all the details because you're not allowed to replay it, so I haven't done it for like years. But I remember that was a lot of fun. You go in like all the different rooms, and you like check all the stuff, and it's like you're trying to figure out who was the liar. You're like, hey, this doesn't match that person's story, and then you go to the other room and you check something else, and it's like, this guy's a liar, and you catch him in the act. Like, I wish there was more stuff like that, and not everything was just, oh, kill them. You think the VOD War are worse than the Zenkethi? The Zenkethi are bad too. The VOD War are just. The trick to the VOD War is just making sure you have speed. If you have enough speed buffs, then you can get out of the way of the cluster torpedoes. It's not so bad, but yeah, if you don't have enough speed to get away from the mines and the torpedoes, it's pretty painful. Like some enemies are just annoying, like the Voth. The immunity shields are they're just annoying. Let's do dot max and see how that goes. Get max. Oh, mouse got off. Max crit. And was that instance in player? Yeah. Okay. All right, let's try this, see what happens. What is all this nonsense? It's giving me the actual records from the data frame. That is not what I wanted. Get max crit. Get max crit. dot max. Slice is indexed. Flag dot string dot contains critical dot max. Oh, we're not, okay. It needs to be mag2. And it needs to be the absolute value. Oh, oops. It needs to be the absolute value. In case it's a crit, or a heal, I mean. I remember that mission. I had forgotten all about it. I think it was K7. Yeah, probably. Undine Infiltration might be the investigation mission in TFO form. Can't say I played that one too much. That artillery, I'll tell you. What's the patrol where there's a bunch of artillery stuff? I can't remember what it's called. But like you have to go in and like repair the 3 ships, but like every couple of seconds you have to move out of the sphere, or otherwise you'll get hit by the artillery. Feedback pulse, the dev who put that on mob should be exiled on an island with no Wi-Fi. To be honest, I think not annoying as the old Klingons to accelerate your ship. You lose control of it. Who are the enemies in Japori? I'm blanking now. They have that debuff that makes it so you can't turn. That's pretty annoying. The Mokai, the Klingons, they're not enemies. They're a collection of debuffs. The one below Wanted, I don't have the game up right now though. Yeah, I mean it's one I've done a lot. It's a fun patrol. I like it. Oh, Blockade Runner. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called Blockade Runner. Yeah, no, that's a fun one. It's pretty short. It's enjoyable. I like it. But yeah, it can be a little bit. That's another one where it's like, it's kind of the same as the VOD War in the sense that if you have enough speed to get out of the way, then it's fine. But if you don't have enough speed, then you're just screwed. Pilot ships can counter viral impulse burst through sometimes pilot maneuvers because of a weird glitch where you're permanently at near full impulse, but can control your ship. The best part is how most of the debuffs only screws if you're using enemy energy builds. Use torps or exotics, GG face roll. Yeah, that's true. Feedback pulse isn't a problem if you're not using energy weapons. Okay, I think this worked now. Let's double check it with combat meter to see if we're getting the right numbers. Seems like it's still really wide here. So for Spencer, 38, 3.8, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 38. Oh, Ginger, can you please not be on the, it's just 300, oh, sorry, Ginger. 388,000? That can't be right. That can't be the max crit. That's not right at all. Max 1 hit. I mean, the max 1 hit can be bigger than the max crit if it was just a really big regular hit, but is max crit on here? Where am I missing it? The map, player, DPS, HPS, TPS, combat time, max 1 hit, target debuff, attacks, hit rate, crit rate, flank hit rate, kills, hit by rate, killed, total damage, hull damage, shield damage, total heals, heal hull, shield hull. It must be on the summary stats. Max heal crit percentage, deaths, max 1 hit. Is this something I made up? Is max crit not a thing? Did I make this up? Was this not a part of Stowe Combat Meter? I'm not seeing it. I mean, the max 1 hit is over 1 million. So these numbers don't feel right to me. What if we take away the flag? Max crit, non-crit is on the bottom. Of the main page. What am I missing here? Total damage percentage out, max 1 hit, crit damage, damage in, total damage in percentage, total attacks in percentage, healing out, total healing out percentage, max heal, heal crit percentage, total deaths. Was max crit hit. Hit by rate, crit rate, hit rate attacks. I mean, it's hard for me to believe this 1.3 million hit is not a critical. So I feel like something is wrong here. In the white zone. Should this be itemized then? Max critical hit. What's the largest critical hit that Spencer got? Is this right? No, it's not right. This neutronic torpedo crit for 1.1 million. This stuff critted for over 1 million. This is trying to tell me that his biggest crit was 388,000. That's not right. Thanks, Hoodwinked. Yeah. Get max. It should be itemized, I think. I don't know that doing it by... Will this help? I don't think it will. Oh, Ginger. Yeah, that didn't really change the numbers any. I didn't think it would. So we're getting a slice, then we're getting the absolute value max of mag 2. Oh, should I be taking mag 1 instead? If I take mag 1, okay, I think oh, that's the mistake. I should have been taking mag 1, not mag 2. Because his biggest crit here looks like a 1.327. And now we're getting 1.327. Okay. Alright, the problem is we were doing mag 2 instead of mag 1. And Rob here, now that I know that Rob is in the chat, or Explodin, is his is, well, it'd be hard to tell. Max crit, max critical hit. Let's see if it matches up here. We've got 84,000. That one's 83. 84,986. Oh, it is 84,96. Okay, that does match up. Okay, it seems to match up now. All right, we were just taking the wrong number. We were taking the wrong magnitude. Okay, well, there's only 4 minutes left in the stream, so I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up here. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, there's a stream delay, so sorry about the silence there. Questions are only just now coming in for me. Good night, and thanks for the action-packed adventure. No problem. My pleasure. Starlay, the stream was rather enjoyable. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Denny Crane or James T. Kirk? Who is Denny Crane? I don't even know who Denny Crane is. I need to look that up. Hold on a second. Who is Denny Crane? Oh, I see. Denny Crane is a character played by William Shatner. Well, obviously it has to be Kirk, right? I mean, I haven't even seen that other show, so. Also, Kirk is the OG. Without Kirk and the original series, we wouldn't have any Star Trek, so I'm going to go with Kirk. All right, everyone. Thank you for everyone who showed up, especially if you were here the whole time. That's really amazing. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys learned something about the new parser that's going on now, especially if any of you are thinking about contributing to it or getting involved. You can get on the Stow Builds Discord and get access to a lot more information that way. And yeah, there'll be more content coming in the future, and I will see you guys all later. As always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.